Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. However you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you're listening, wherever you're listening. It is the Salute to Troy podcast, and we have the 2/3 of the Bearded Bandits here today. We got the Madman and the coaches here. Madman, how are you doing on this wonderful Thursday?
Doing well, Coach. Great to see you as always. And technically we might just have 1.5 Bearded Bandits. Obviously we're missing our partner in crime, Rye, and as you can see, I'm a little bit more clean shaven than the prerequisite for this show would allow. So maybe it's 1.5 Bandits. But great to see you as always, my friend.
Well, I have to go to the ribbon cutting for our new stadium on Saturday. So the next time you see me, I'll be goatee and freshly shaven head. So,
oh man,
the bearded bandits might be a thing of the past.
Well, we're fired up. The LAFB family is so excited to come to your first game. Which is what 10, 12 days away at this point. Yeah, and everyone's gonna be there. Myself, Ryan, Tim, Will the Thrill. Everybody wants to come out and support you, Coach. So we can't wait for that experience.
So there was a little issue.
Okay.
With it doesn't matter. So the game got moved to the 28th.
Okay.
It's a Thursday, just to let you know that.
No problem. That sounds great.
So Yep. And then I get a list, so just let me know who's all coming. I'll put everybody on the list so they can walk right in and hang out on the sidelines.
There we go. That's what we like. That's how we like it.
Good deal. So, Madman, you're the one that brought this up to me. We want to talk about the biggest questions of the 2026 season. You told me you have 5. I have 3. I think. Let's see.
Well, Coach, just to be clear, I have 0 questions right now for the 2026 season. I have 5 questions for the 2025 season.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in 2-a-days right now, man. Give me a break. Cut me a break. So the other day when I was on the live, I said the Trojans are 48 months away. They're 48 months away. And Tim and Ryan were like, God dang, like he's giving them a long time. I was like, yeah, like the 25 class sophomores is when we'll see it. And Ryan was like, you mean 24? I was like, yeah, Ryan, 24. I was so
24 months away. Oh my goodness.
20. So yeah, the questions are for the 25 season. I'm so sorry, man. I'm at the point in camp where I'm forgetting the days of the week. Like, what's today? Okay, I need to get home. I gotta get to Detroit. So definitely the 25 season. The 25 season. We have questions about the 25 season. Man, I think one of our questions are pretty much the same. I think we have the same question. I think 2 of them are the same. I have 3. You said you have 5.
Yep.
Right? I think 2 of them are the same. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna roll through them. We're going to roll through them. And then, do you want to alternate or you want to just throw all 5 yours out? I'll throw all 3 of mine out.
Whatever you want, Coach. However you want to play it.
Let's alternate it.
Okay.
Let's alternate it. You could go first. You go first and I'll go. And then we'll talk about it. We'll get through it. And we'll have some fun like we normally do and have our nice, in-depth, educated conversation. So you go ahead, go first. What's your first question?
I love it, Coach. I love it. Well, listen, I mean, obviously this is a pivotal year in the Lincoln Riley era, year 4. After where we've been the last couple of years, it would be hard for me, Coach, to have any sort of conversation on the biggest questions heading into 2025 without starting with Jaden Maeva. And what is the version of Jaden Maeva we are going to get in this 2025 season? Are we going to get first half Las Vegas Bowl against Texas A&M 3 interception, Jaden Maeva, or are we going to get second half Las Vegas Bowl against Texas A&M 17-point comeback, 4 touchdowns, Jaden Maeva? And I think the swing and the variation of those 2 scenarios is very, very significant. In the best case scenario, Coach, look, physically, he's got all the tools. And he actually reminds me of Colin Kaepernick. If you look at sort of the body type, he's long, he's athletic, he's got a rifle for an arm, he can make all of the throws. And, Ryan and I talked about this earlier in the summer. The best version of Jaden Maeva is, does he make a Cam Ward-like jump? Does he make a Jaden Daniels-like jump with Lincoln Riley and leads this team to enormous success? The worst case scenario of Jaden Maeva is more turnovers, more inconsistency, more inability to break down defenses, and you're potentially looking at a guy who could get benched game 8, game 9 for Hussein Longstreet. And frankly, either of those scenarios at this point, I think, are equally likely in terms of your expectation going in. He was 3-1 last year as a starter, but 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 3 additional fumbles. They had 10 turnovers to only 11 touchdowns. A lot of questions about Jaden Maeva. This team is ultimately going to go as far as he takes them. And Lincoln Riley has talked about in the offseason Maeva's 2 biggest areas of emphasis. One has been to be able to get the ball out quickly and be decisive in terms of being able to read defenses. And second, it's about having that voice in the locker room and being the true leader of this team and galvanizing this team. But Coach, Jaden Maeva, which version are we going to get is going to have the single greatest swing, in my opinion, in terms of this 2025 season?
So I knew we had the same question. And the one thing you never want to do with your quarterback is have shampoo directions. You know what shampoo directions are?
Rinse and repeat.
There you go. And it looks like we're having shampoo directions with our quarterback. The fans are going to be calling for Longstreet in the middle of the season, just like they did Miller Moss last year, just like they did with Maeva, right? They wanted Maeva. They got Maeva. We're getting Maeva. He had a great bowl game, blah, 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 this and that. Like, remember a year ago? Miller Moss played so great in San Diego, and we're ready to go with Miller Moss. And I was one of those people. I'm not going to lie. I'll admit I was one of those people. We're great. I actually wanted to stick with Miller Moss to the end of the season. Now we're seeing the same thing, the exact same story. And when you have the exact same story, 9 times out of 10, the story ends the same way, right? So it kind of goes back to what you say. Is the quarterback guru losing his touch? Is he missing in recruiting? Like, we're starting to get a little questionable here. I'm going to say it. I don't think he's the answer. I really don't think he's the answer. You just said he was 10 touchdowns and 11 turnovers, or 11 touchdowns?
11 touchdown passes, 10 turnovers. Yep.
That's not good.
No, it isn't.
You know what I mean? That's not good. Like, I think we're getting excited just because he's the starting quarterback. And I'm here to say it. We have to stop as fans. We have to stop as column writers. We have to stop as USC altogether. And we eventually have to take a step back and finally say, we're not good enough yet. And this kid isn't good enough. Like, we have to start doing that. And I'm not saying Maeva per se. I'm just saying in general. Like, we have to stop like fan writing. We have to start being realistic. I think Maeva is a great gap quarterback to get Longstreet ready for his redshirt freshman year. I don't think he's going to be the guy. I don't think he's going to get a jersey in the cement bleachers. I think he's going to be okay, but he's not the answer to go and ring the bell and be like, yes, the Savior's here. I just don't. He has another year after this. Maybe after this, maybe just a full season, but like, there's nothing to me, Jamal, that says he's the guy and we're in a good position. I think a lot of people are like, he's the starting SC quarterback, so let's rally behind him. I can't do that. I'm showing you guys a lot. You got mad at me 2 years ago for powdering butts. I'm no longer powdering butts. He's just not good enough. He's inconsistent. That's probably why he's inconsistent. Go ahead. You're about to say something.
No, Coach. I mean, I think the evidence sort of suggests that he's inconsistent. You got to remember, this is, he was in that UNLV go offense his freshman year. Very simple offense, right? It was a couple of plays, a couple of packages, and he did well as Mountain West Freshman of the Year. Last year, he comes in still very turnover prone. I think the question is, can Lincoln mold him and shape him into the quarterback that he needs to be for this to be a successful season? And I think more than anything else, I think the fans aren't necessarily buying into Maeva per se, but I think they're buying into what can Lincoln Riley, the quarterback guru, do with a Jaden Maeva, given the track record of 3 Heisman trophies and the litany of success that he's had at the quarterback position in terms of development. So I think that's going to be the big question. Look, for all of the conversation, Lincoln actually didn't have a very good quarterbacking coach type of year last year with Miller Moss. The Miller Moss that we saw in the bowl game at the end of the 23 season and the Miller Moss that we saw in the first game against LSU was sort of a shell of himself by the time that Washington game rolled around, and that was ultimately his last start. Lincoln didn't really develop Miller Moss very well over the course of the 24 season. So is he going to have a second consecutive year where that happens? His track record would suggest no. And so that's going to be the fascination here, Coach. I completely agree with you. Maeva hasn't shown anything on film yet to indicate a level of confidence. I think where the optimism resides is, look, he's had a full year with Lincoln Riley, quarterback whisperer. Now, can the whisperer deliver the goods with a guy who's got a lot of raw talent, raw athleticism, but a ton of inconsistency?
Miller Moss had 2 full years with Lincoln Riley.
Yep.
There's nothing to me that says, wow, he's the guy. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm sorry. People are going to kill me for this and say I'm wrong and this and that. In this case, I'm from Missouri. You know
it's
what I mean?
Show me state. It's totally the show me state.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced that he's the guy. I prefer we go into the season with Longstreet, and we're okay with Longstreet because he's a freshman and we know he'll get better, than to say we're putting it all in on Maeva. Because it looks like, I'm telling you, we're going down the path of we need Longstreet. We need Longstreet. And all those guys who are calling for Maeva are going to call for Longstreet. And I'm going to call them all out on their show. Like, you remember when you wanted this guy? You wanted this guy. So now you got to live with him. Can't back out of it now. So I wanted to stay with Moss, by the way, just to let you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fair, Coach. So, I think that's question number one, for me is Maeva. Which version of Maeva do we get? For me, Coach, question number 2 is what kind of jump can this defensive line make? And to me, last year, often, we've talked about it ad nauseum over the last 8 or 9 months, but just that inability to finish games with the lack of depth, the lack of bodies, the lack of development in that defensive line. 5 of the 6 losses, obviously, we had the lead in the fourth quarter, couldn't close, defense couldn't get that one stop. How does this defensive line take that next jump? And obviously, a guy like Devin Tompkins is someone everyone's really expecting some big things from this year. Lincoln talked about it at Big Ten Media Day, that he really expects Devin Tompkins to be a stalwart there. You're talking about getting Jamal Jarrett from Georgia, Keyshawn Silver from Kentucky for that interior defensive line. And then on the edge, is this the year that Anthony Lucas, his last year of eligibility, can he finally put it together? 5-star from Texas A&M, showed flashes last year, and then obviously got hurt in that Penn State game. He got chopped up. We didn't see him the rest of the way. And then can Cam Fountain, continue that trajectory, make that jump? And then we got the wild card in the true freshman, Jakeem Stewart. So on paper, a lot of really great bodies, a lot of really great depth, a lot of talent. But can this defensive line now make that jump from being mediocre or subpar, average, below average, depending on what your grading scale is, to good and great? Because that's what it's going to take to be able to win consistently in the Big Ten. So what is the degree of jump this unit can make now in year 2 of the D'Anton Lynn system?
So here's my question. So my first question was the quarterback. You knew that, right? My second question was the D-line. So we're pretty much on pace. So we're getting through this pretty good. I think they're putting a lot of faith in Jakeem Stewart and a lot of faith in the guys that are coming in next year. Does a zebra really changes his stripes? Like, does a zebra really change his stripes? Like, are we going to year 3 with Anthony Lucas, right? We're going on year 3.
Yeah. This is his last year of eligibility. He had a couple at Texas A&M, couple at SC with the red shirt. So,
we're going on year 3 with Anthony Lucas. We are hoping Jakeem Stewart is everything he says he's going to be, right? Braylon Shelby. What is Braylon Shelby? Still do not know. Guessing with Jakeem Stewart, Cameron Fountain. He was a freshman next year. Maybe he does break out, right? Maybe this is a breakout. So that's still a question mark. Gus Cordova, he might not play. Jaden Ramos, that is Jaden Ramos a guy? He is a guy. Nope, that looks like a walk-on. He's 6'4", 220. That's not big enough. He's just a walk-on. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm going through their D-line right now.
Yep.
Just so we can. Jamal Jarrett, Devin Tompkins, right? He's been there, redshirt junior, so this is his third year. What's going to change in Devin Tompkins? Like, those are the questions you legit have to have. Kobe Pepe, right? He's Long Beach, California, Bosco guy, so that's a guy who got paid to go to a high school, and now he's been there. This is his last year. What's going to make the zebra change his stripes? We're putting a lot of faith in the guys who like hasn't done it before in the past. Why are they going to do it now? Is it scheme because of the defensive coordinator? Right? All of a sudden, like last year, we were happy they put all this weight on. That's what's going to change them. They put the weight on, didn't work. Right? The first year, they're going to play this fast defense. Didn't work. So what's going to change it now?
Yeah, no, Coach. I mean, it's a very fair question. I mean, and you're hitting it hard. I mean, Coach, you're like Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men. You know, it's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. You know, that's what's kind of going on right now for sure. And Coach, nothing you're saying is incorrect here. I think the argument would be what has changed is a second year of familiarity in the D'Anton Lynn system, you know, continuing to sort of develop from a defensive line perspective with Eric Henderson. So now you have the synchronicity of Eric Henderson and D'Anton Lynn. You're continuing to sort of improve your body in terms of strength and conditioning. And I think in the case of Jamal Jarrett and Keyshawn Silver, is a change of scenery going to get them to sort of unlock their potential. Jamal Jarrett, if he was good enough to get recruited at Georgia, which has basically been defensive line U the last 5, 6, 7 years, he just couldn't find a spot on the field consistently. Does this change of scenery unlock an opportunity for him? And same thing with Keyshawn Silver, who was at Kentucky in the heart of the SEC. Does a change of scenery do it? So I think that's sort of the combination of things, Coach, that folks are sort of hanging their hat on. Continuity in this defensive system, more comfort with the coaches, a change of scenery in some cases, and then kind of that light bulb moment going off, right? Like for some kids, that light bulb goes off at 19. For some, it's 21. For some, it's 22, where the game kind of clicks, the game slows down, things become more intuitive, things become more instinctive. So I think that would be the argument for what's going to change.
Okay, I'm from Missouri. I mean, I don't like. That's what I'm saying. Like, those are like legit questions. Those have been
Absolutely.
the issue. Those have been last year was the issue. It was even the issue Caleb's last year. So the past 2 years has been the defensive line and the quarterback play, right? So those are my two questions. Like, and we have a lot of the defensive line coming back, a good amount of defensive line coming back, right? So like, if they improve and if they're say what everybody says they're going to be, show me.
Right.
Show me. Answer, prove me wrong. And I'm like, good. This is what we needed. I'm 100% okay with it. But right now, like we got to call a spade, and we're calling you on the carpet. The quarterback play hasn't been good the past 3 years. The D-line play hasn't been good the past 3 years. The linebacker play has been atrocious the past 3 years. Let's see the change. What are we really getting excited for? Let's see the change. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fair, Coach. It's, you know, especially on the defensive line, it's not like you're bringing a guy back who last year had 8.5 sacks or last year had 12.5 tackles for loss. You know, it's all about the fate that a Tompkins is going to make the jump, that a Fountain is going to make the jump, change of scenery for Jarrett and Silver. So I agree with you. It's all show me state. Look, Maeva is unproven. The defensive line is unproven. There's a lot to like about both of those position groups. But then there's also a lot of questions, which is why we're saying what are the biggest questions heading into 2025. Yeah. So I totally agree with you, Coach, there. For me, question number 3, unsurprisingly, perhaps to many, is the other side of the trenches. And that is, what type of stability and performance is the offensive line going to give? Because I think an unsung storyline last year, Coach, so much of it was about the untimely interceptions with Miller Moss. So much of it was the defense not wearing down in the fourth quarter. So much of it was also about the improvement from 2023 to 2024 in terms of this D'Anton Lynn system. But I think something that fell a little bit under the radar is the offensive line really struggled at times last year, and Miller Moss got really beaten up. And a lot of those untimely turnovers came as a result of Miller Moss just not having confidence that the pocket was going to stay secure for him and that it was going to be a collapsing pocket. And so, when you look at this offensive line right now, Coach, I think you're feeling really good about left tackle at Elijah Page. You're looking at right tackle Tobias Raymond. Jean-Ray Reed is the center. And then I think you're looking at right guard Alani Noah, and it looks like left guard is going to be Benuelos. So I think, that's your five. Now the question is going to be, I think Page is set up to be a star, and particularly on that Maeva blind side. But I think right of Page, I think there's probably some questions for the rest of that offensive line. Tobias Raymond has a lot of potential. Is he going to kind of step up and really be a star? Jean-Ray Reed was a terrific center last year. Is he going to be able to sort of translate that? And then you got some questions at the guard spot because, for someone who is as turnover prone and inconsistent as Maeva, the last thing you want is an offensive line that's inconsistent, because then if that clock in his head, Coach, starts getting erratic, if he starts getting happy feet, if he starts abandoning his mechanics, then guess what? You got a real snowball effect here of potentially disastrous situations happening. On the flip side, if you've got really stable offensive line play, particularly with a soft September schedule, Maeva can start gaining some confidence. You start 3-0, you start 4-0, you have a clean pocket. You can sort of go through your progressions. You can make quick decisions. You can really work on all the things that you emphasized in the offseason in game situations. So then by the time the Michigan game rolls around, by the time you got to go on the road to Illinois, and then much deeper in the season with Oregon and Notre Dame, you have a base of achievement and a base of confidence to be able to move forward in. So to me, offensive line play going to be absolutely critical. A lot of questions there.
All right, our first three are pretty. I have four. I'm sorry. That's what I told you before we started. No, before we started the show, I said I have four. I was like, oh, yeah, that's one too. So first three were on path. So I don't even have to ask my questions. We can just flow with the show. The O-line is a question. And offensive line for me is different for defensive line. Offensive line is about camaraderie and gelling together and being able to work together. I think these dudes have been together for so long. I think this is the year that it actually works. And I'm the biggest Alani Noah fan since he played in that game a couple of years back. I'm like, that dude's pretty good. Like, people aren't understanding how good he is. Elijah Page is probably going to be a first-day tackle, right? Like, he's making his mark. People know who he is. And the fact that Noah is working next to Elijah Page, like, I think that's going to help him out, right? Those dudes have been working together, 3 years now? Because Noah's getting a couple,
And Noah started 12 or 13 games last year, Coach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of continuity there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of continuity there. Jean-Ray Reed. So you're looking at that center guard, left side, back. Like, all right, we've played together. We understand. We get checks. Like, we're starting to work together. The backside, still Villalobos played a lot last year. We know that much. Who did you say the guard was? You guys are so good at that. I never I don't get how you guys.
Mika Benuelos.
Van Wells was the guard. I thought he was the Van Wells is the guard.
Yeah.
So
Raymond is the right tackle. Page is left tackle.
Yeah. So Van Wells also played a lot last year.
Well, Benuelos is sort of coming into his own this year. Benuelos didn't play too much last year. Yeah.
But he got some reps. Am I not mistaken?
A few.
Yeah, okay. So those guys have been – so this is also the offensive line for most part. That's that 2024 class that everybody was getting happy about, right? Some of those guys are on that line.
Yep.
Not 24 class, maybe 24.
They were happy. I think the 23 class. Yeah.
Yeah, 23 class. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The line is a question is – here's my question for the offensive line. How good can they be? Right. So, like, their ceiling is really high, but their floor is also high.
Floor is low.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you. I'm happy. Good thing you're here today. They have a really low floor and a very high ceiling, right? So they could go above and beyond and be the best offensive line in the nation. We got some outlet winners, all this stuff, right? But they also could be one of the worst offensive lines in the nation, and people don't understand why. I think at that point, though, to be honest, I think that position coach is the next guy who's in the hot seat. I think they'll get rid of him because they're like, we haven't gotten better at all at offensive line. It's not the players. It has to be the coaching, right? We're not developing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there was a change, this year, Coach, at the offensive line, from a position coach perspective. So, and a lot of
was.
Success,
I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of success with recruiting the offensive line. So I think from a coaching staff, there's definitely going to be, some patience there. I think the question is going to be, you have veterans, between now Page, Noah, even Raymond got, some good run last year. Jean-Ray Reed, 30 plus starts, at his previous stop. So you've got some really nice continuity. So the making is there for this to really gel. The question for me is, are you going to get elite pass blocking beyond Elijah Page? Like, Page is a superstar. And I think just the question for me is, like, what really is Noah's ceiling? What's really Raymond's ceiling? Like, do they have the potential to be great? Or are they just, good, solid college level linemen? Or are we talking about there's 2 or 3 NFL linemen in this group? I think that's the big question for me, because I think if they can make that jump to be, 2 or 3 really high quality blue chippers, I mean, this is a whole different ball game in terms of what SC looks like, because now you can control the line of scrimmage, you can control the clock, you can control the number of possessions, you can control, how many times Maeva has to throw, you can stay balanced, and you can win games on the road, in the cold, at night, in hostile environments in the Big Ten with elite line play, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything. This is all football 101, but that's the question for me is I think that they're all got enough experience where I don't foresee a scenario where it's going to be negative or below average line play. To me, it's more of a question of how good can they be?
Yeah, it is. I think you're going to this is also a possibility too. You could get a really good O-line, right? And we've seen it before. Eric Crouch, perfect example. I use this example all the time. Heisman winner, the man, Nebraska's, right? He probably has he probably still eats for free in Lincoln, Nebraska. 7th round draft pick, right? Like, I think you could get a really excellent O-line out of these people, but Page is probably the only guy that will get drafted.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that still can happen. So you can get that really good, great O-line that you're talking about. Yeah. This has to work out. I think these guys the potential for these guys it's so much potential. And like, it's like, what's going on? Now, this is the spot really where it's like, why are these guys not better? Like, that's like, maybe you start to ask, maybe they aren't good. Is the coach not good? Why are these guys not better? Because like, we're expecting a lot out of these guys and so much potential. So it's like, you're asking, why are these guys not better? That's where I'm confused at. But I hope they succeed. I really want to, especially Noah. I hope Noah has a great year, because it's like, I'm in his fan club. Let's go. Get drafted, Noah. I'm in your fan club.
Love it. No, Coach, I mean, I think O-line's going to be critical. And then for me, Coach, question number 4 is linebacker depth. And I think you've got 2 really good linebackers in Eric Gentry and Desmond Stevens. And then there's a little bit of a concern for me in terms of depth. And when you look at Gentry, the best version of Gentry is truly one of the most explosive, dynamic players in all of college football. I mean, when you talk about his size at that particular linebacker position, I mean, he can just sort of cause havoc in a way that few can, with that length and that wingspan. I mean, it's almost an impossibility to throw a ball over his head. I mean, he's going to sort of deflect just about every pass if he's got a nose for the ball, and just his speed and his ability to sort of close up lanes so quickly, Gentry is someone that can totally be the linchpin of this defense. The big concern for me, Coach, has just been the injury history. He just can't stay on the field. And part of it is that body type doesn't really fit a traditional linebacker sometimes. And so he sort of gets in trouble. He gets undercut. He gets blindsided. He just sort of takes a ton of pounding. And so what happens, God forbid, if Gentry gets hurt or if Stevens get hurt, particularly in a D'Anton Lynn scheme that relies very heavily on linebackers and their ability to generate pressure from a pass rush perspective. That's really what, the Lynn scheme is. It's this ability of, hey, is the pass rush going to come from the edge? Is it going to be some exotic blitz? Is it going to be straight up the linebacker causing pressure? And you're always sort of worried about the disguised pressure. And then you have sort of that zone shell beyond the disguised pressure where it always feels like it's sort of a +1 in space for the defense. So to me, so much of this D'Anton Lynn scheme is so predicated on the linebackers being with the defensive line and really creating a formidable defensive front, that linebacker depth and linebacker injury history is the next question for me. Can these guys stay on the field, and are they going to have enough depth behind them to have enough tread in their tires to be able to finish a Big Ten season?
I want you to remember this name. Anthony Beavers Jr.
Yep.
Anthony Beavers Jr. stuck out to me in San Diego 2 years ago.
Yep. I remember that. Yep.
I was like, this kid, but at that time they had him at like safety. And that's what he was in the Grinch system. Nope. Grinch was already gone. That's when they fired Grinch because we just had a 1 year with D'Anton Lynn. Grinch was fired because that was the Holiday Bowl system. But
no. I mean, Grinch was.
He was gone. Gone.
Grinch was there. Grinch was there in 23. I mean, Lynn was there last year, right, in 24. Grinch was there in 23.
Right, but he got fired in the middle of the season. I'm talking about when I saw him at the Holiday Bowl.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they were still running his system because that's what they knew. Right. So he was playing kind of like the safety. But I think he would led the team with tackles that day, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
Yeah. So he fits in Lynn's system, 6'1", 230. So he also put on weight. Gentry and Beavers makes a really good combo.
You got Gentry and Beavers over Gentry and Stevens?
I like Gentry. I mean, I like Beavers. I've seen him play.
Yeah.
I've never seen Stevens play.
Well, Stevens played great last year, Coach. I mean, obviously had that big interception against Penn State, huge game against Penn State, had really some terrific moments over the course of last year. So put a ton on tape for sure in terms of his performance. But you're going Beavers over Stevens. That's very interesting.
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. This is why Gentry and Beavers is better. Gentry can also cover. Not Gentry. Beavers can also cover.
Beavers can cover.
Beavers can also cover. I think that puts you in a way better situation.
I mean, Stevens can cover too. I mean, Stevens gets out there. He covers those tight ends. He covers those backs. He gets out there in space as well. But it just feels like you're more of a Beavers guy. You kind of like that height and build, huh?
Yeah, I'm convinced on Beavers.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There's nothing to be sorry about. That's your opinion. That's your take. That's fantastic. Yeah.
You're not that's like you can't move me off the chain that when we have to running back talk. I think Woody Marks is the best one. That's the best transfer. He's for sure the best transfer.
I mean, he was the most productive transfer, we could say, Coach. I still think Marshawn Lloyd was the most talented running back transfer.
Okay. Let's agree to disagree on that one. Like we always would. No, I just like that combination. I don't know. I think it's one of those things like the running back that you guys couldn't move me off of, even though he didn't play. He was there from the beginning, number 6 from Stanford.
No, Austin Jones. I wanted him to be great, and I couldn't move off of him. I can't move off of Beavers right now. You're right, though. I don't think they put a lot of stock in a linebacker, and I think that's a Riley mistake, and I hope they do start putting more stock in linebacker. But that's a good one. I really don't have anything to say about it. I need to see it. I didn't even know Stevens really played last year. Even though he put a lot of film out, but
He didn't
Yeah, I mean,
jump off the screen.
he definitely showed a ton of talent there, Coach. I mean, it's just the depth, and obviously they brought some guys into fall camp, some guys that they're really excited about for sure. But there is, I agree with you. I think Beavers, dropping a linebacker now, I think is going to be kind of the X factor wild card, because you're sort of at a point with Gentry that, God, you're just waiting for him to sort of put it all together for a full season. But you also sort of have to have a little bit of an insurance policy given what the last few years have been. So even if you can kind of go Stevens and Beavers, God forbid, in a scenario of Gentry's out for a few weeks or longer, you feel pretty good about that. The only concern I have is, this is just such a physical conference when it comes to running the ball, packing the box. If you only have 2 or 3 linebackers that you're really, really confident in that can play potentially at an elite level, where does that leave you in game 9? Where does that leave you in game 11? Where does that leave you in the postseason? So to me, linebacker health and linebacker depth is definitely a question for me as a big barometer.
Yeah, hopefully it works out. I didn't even think about questioning the backers. They treat it as such a non-factor that I think they need to change that approach.
Well, I mean, they're a huge factor in the Lynn system. So that's
I know,
where,
you're
that's
right.
where, it gets interesting.
Yep. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like, they
Totally.
don't really. Yeah. See,
yeah. No,
we have
and
the
then
same
Coach, the last question for me is Lincoln Riley going to call offense in a way that is sort of mature, in a way that is courageous, and in a way that is sort of consistent? And, we talked about this a bunch last year, Coach, of how much he got spooked, from time to time. When the run game, 2 runs go for no gain, all of a sudden he doesn't run the ball again for 15 plays. So how do you do that? Obviously, you lose Woody Marks, but you got a ton of guys coming. Eli Sanders, Wayman Jordan, you got Brian Jackson. You got a ton of talent at running back. I mean, Wayman Jordan was the JUCO Player of the Year. The guy just sort of ran the top off the ball in JUCO. Eli Sanders, a transfer from New Mexico, 1,000+ yards, 9 touchdowns, 7+ yards per carry. Brian Jackson at 6 feet, 235. Looks like Lendale. I mean, he looks like Lendale 2.0. I mean, right down to sort of the number, the back plate, the visor, the whole deal. So Lincoln's never had a problem having offensive weapons. To me, the question is he going to stick with the run, and is he going to stick with a balanced attack? Or is he going to get kind of happy feet as a play caller and keep throwing the ball? And that's when, the inconsistency of Maeva then is more under the microscope, is more, on trial. Because I think so much of what happened to Miller Moss last year, I think in many ways was not his fault, Coach. And I think that's why you felt like they should have stuck with Miller Moss longer. I never felt that Miller Moss was a problem last year. I just think that they eventually needed a new voice just to sort of salvage the season. But Miller Moss got beaten up from his offensive line, and Miller Moss got no favors from Lincoln Riley in terms of play calling. There was so much on him. He had to drop back so many times and throw the ball. The offense got so imbalanced that's the question number 5 for me. I mean, Coach, let's go back to that UCLA game. Let's not forget that 19-13 game. I mean, how many times SC had the ball in the red zone in the 5-yard line? How many fades SC threw? 3 field goals, to sort of start that game. That should not have been a 6-point game. That should have been a much more significant cushion. And that's just one example. So to me, Lincoln Riley's play calling is question 5 heading into 2025.
I'm reading a book right now on play calling.
Yeah.
And they said pressure play calling creates pressure playing. Like when you sell things, how when you sell things, they say people can feel when you really need to sell. Like, when a salesman really needs to get the sale to get the commission.
You can feel their anxiety. You can feel their pressure. Yep.
Pressure. They say players feel the same thing. They start to feel like the pressure of the call being like, why are we? And that's when you start getting players start to saying, why are we calling this play right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they also said sometimes you have to step back and reestablish the game. And I don't think Lincoln ever steps back and reestablishes the game. I used to suffer from pressure play calling. When I call defense, I'm like, we got to get it. We got to get it. We got to get it. And I just try to get it. And I never step back and just like, all right, let's just go back and start over. We got plenty of time. Let's go back and start over. So I think the pressure, like he gets into these things where he's trying to get it. And he never steps back like, okay, cool. Let's just get the tempo back, or let's just get things back. Like
well, I mean, that the coach, I mean, for all his success, 55-10 at Oklahoma, year one success at USC, I mean, that was synonymous, right? Is he blew so many leads. Even at Oklahoma, he blew a bunch of leads. At SC, he blew a bunch of leads. I mean, let's not forget year one, Tulane game was a blown lead. The Utah first game was a blown lead. I won't count the second Utah game. Caleb got hurt. It was sort of a different game. But that first Utah game, the one that went 43-42 when they went for two and clipped SC right at the end there in Salt Lake, SC's up 14 points, almost 21 points. Utah comes back in the game. Tulane's up. Tulane comes back in the game. So many times we've had leads and teams have just been able to come back because he hasn't been able to reestablish the game. He hasn't been able to recenter, if you will. And that's going to be huge, particularly with Maeva under center there, because there's going to be moments, right? Like Maeva is not going to go from a gunslinger to like Aaron Rodgers circa 2018, where it was like 40 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, right? Like it's not going to be that, right? Maeva's going to go, the best case scenario here is he goes from, gunslinger to a guy that's going to be much more controlled, but he's still going to be Maeva. He's still going to try and improv. He's still going to be dynamic, and he's going to still go for the high-risk plays, but he's just going to know when to go for those high-risk plays and sort of be better calibrated. But so in that situation, exactly as you said, if you don't recenter the game and the quarterback starts feeling the pressure from you and feels that anxiety from you, then guess what? He's going to retreat back to old habits. So that's why the type of quarterback you have, you got to make sure that you recenter the game. Because I think the one thing Miller Moss had last year, Coach, was a lot of maturity. He was in the system a long time. He waited his turn. And so he was a guy that, could sort of recenter even on his own, even when Lincoln didn't do him any favors from a play calling perspective. I don't know if we're going to get that from Maeva this year. I don't know if Maeva has that inner clock to sort of recenter without Lincoln. And so that's why I think Lincoln's going to have to really emphasize balance and setting guys up for success from a pass run perspective.
I agree. Yeah, we'll see. And we get on that. Like they just stopped running. They abandoned the run. We'll probably bitch about that again this year. I'm gonna tell you my fourth one, and this is my final one. And after this one, we could talk a little bit and wrap it up. And I talk about this all the time, every single time and every single year, and it's proven never to change because we saw it in Minnesota, we saw it in Maryland. Where else did they lose it like they should have won? We actually saw it in Washington because they had the lead in Washington and blew the lead. Will the Trojans be able to travel? I've been talking about this for a long time. They're not good on the road, and I don't know what it is and why, but they're not very good on the road. What are they going to do to get better to play well on the road? They're terrible on the road, and they have to get better. They say, have you ever heard the phrase championship teams, their defenses travel?
Yep.
Like their defense has to travel. The whole team just has to travel in general. So like my question is, can they be better on the road? If I knew off the top, I wish I knew off the top of my head, and I'm looking up. I'm curious to see Lincoln Riley's road record since he's been at SC. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 500 or below 500 because they don't play very well on the road.
Yeah, I mean, he's 26-14 overall at SC. I would imagine I don't know the record off the top of my head, but I would imagine it's sort of like a, 17-12 or something like, something like that, 13-11, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not close. So we got to like, they legit need to travel. And if you talk about, he wants to be a college football playoff team, the whole time you're on the road. So you got to figure out how to travel. They need to reestablish their routine and get these dudes to travel better. What do you think about that one, Matt?
No, Coach, I think it's totally fair, and especially when you look at the schedule, right? The biggest games are on the road, and you got Michigan at home, which is a big one. But then outside of that, your other three really big games are on the road, right? At Oregon, at Notre Dame, at Illinois, right? Those are the three big ones on the road. So, if you're going to make the college football playoff, you have to win, I would say, one of those three games, right? Yes. And if you can get to 10-2, even if you drop the other two, you're in a great spot to make the CFP. If you drop all three, then it kind of depends, in terms of where it all shakes out with other teams. But you got to be able to win one of those three games if you want to make the CFP this year.
Do you think they get in with 3 wins?
They don't. They definitely don't get in with 3 wins. But
do you think they get in with 3 losses?
But do they get in with 3 losses, Coach? I mean, I got them right at 9-3. I got them right at 9-3 this year. I actually have them winning all the other games, and I have them losing at Notre Dame, at Oregon, at Illinois, and I have them finishing 9-3, 7-2 in the Big Ten. And I think it's going to be right on that line. Like Clemson got in last year at 9-3, but there were a couple other 9-3 teams that didn't get in. So I think it's going to matter how they lose some of these games. I'm projecting these 3 losses. Like, are they close games? Were they, down to the wire? You just lost them, or did you sort of comfortably lose? And then in terms of the wins department, is this a really good Michigan team? And if you can beat them in the Coliseum, that's going to go a long, long way. But if this is another Michigan team, kind of like last year, where it's kind of an 8-5 Michigan team, they're still rebuilding, that type of game doesn't have the same cachet from a resume standpoint. So to me, Coach, they're going to be 9-3, and it's going to be right on the line. They're going to be either just in or just out.
5 questions you have.
Yep.
How many of them truly have to be answered for them to be successful?
I think if you can get an elite Maeva, and I think if you can get a really step function jump in defensive line, I think if you can get those 2, you're in a good spot.
D-line and Maeva. Okay.
Yeah.
My 2 is Maeva and the travel. I think they have to travel, and Maeva has to play really well. Those are the 2 biggest ones that I have, because you can end up losing 2. I know they play Purdue. I don't remember if they play Purdue on the road or not.
Purdue on the road.
Yeah, you can end up going to West Lafayette and losing.
Coach, if they lose to Purdue on the road after Purdue won 1 game last year, like, we're going to be having a very different conversation. Like, I get it. Travel is hard. They lose to Purdue, Coach, like, forget it, okay? So that's a different conversation. So hey, that's, you can't blame that on the travel agent. You can't blame that on the airplane. You can't blame that on the pretzels on the airplane. You can't blame that on the stewardesses. You can't blame that on baggage claim. Like, if you lose to 1-win Purdue last year, Coach, I mean, forget about it. Okay, I'm gonna show up naked on this podcast. That post game. I mean, if SC loses to Purdue,
because they play at 12 p.m. our time, so we'll definitely be able to do a live. Can you imagine the reaction of our fans?
No shot there, Coach. There's no way they're losing these first 3 games. I mean, if that is even close to happening, we're having a completely different conversation.
But they have to go to Champaign and play at tough Illinois, though, right?
That's a very legitimate, difficult game. At Illinois, and then of course at Oregon, at Notre Dame. Nothing else needs to be said there. But the season's really going to be defined. To me, those 3 games. You got a home game, Michigan. A lot of people are making, sort of a fuss about at home against Iowa. I don't quite see it that way. But the other, interesting road game, Coach, is going to be at Nebraska.
Yeah, that's also the Nebraska game. Now they could go to Lincoln and lose in Lincoln.
Yeah. There we go. Now you say Lincoln, Coach. That's fine. Okay, West Lafayette. Okay, that's a different story.
I just threw that one out there. I want to see what your reaction is like.
No,
does he get left on the tarmac? Does he left on the tarmac?
No, that's a tarmac game. Forget. I mean, that's you leave him in West Lafayette. You leave him. That's not even a tarmac game. You leave him on the sideline if that happens. There's just no way.
Oh man, that's a good one, man. That's a real good one. No, but yeah, they got to travel. Like Lincoln. Lincoln's a perfect example. They got to go to Lincoln, and they have to win in Lincoln. So those are the two I'm interested in. I'm pretty sure we got more, but those are the top. Those are your 5. Those are my 4. Now we'll wait and see. It's time for us to wait and see. It's time for us to go. Football season's closed. We are 3 weeks away.
Yes, sir. I mean, really 2 weeks away, Coach. 2 weeks away. Yep.
Don't say that. That means I'm 2 weeks away.
Yes, sir. You're 2 weeks away, and the men of Troy are 2 weeks away. Hallelujah and giddy up.
It's coming. The air is getting crisp, and Friday, Saturday is about to be fun. So
yes, sir.
Let's do it, man. Another great show, man. Another great show. We're ending with a great joke. West Lafayette, don't disappoint.
No, West Lafayette, disappoint, please. Don't listen to Coach. I mean, my God.
I don't think there's no way that's possible. There's no way that's possible. No, good deal. Hey, man, it's been a good one. Until next time, you guys know how it goes. It's been always real. You guys always go live free. Fight on.